Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, sir.
Okay. So this is the first presentation in the neurology. So today we have just started this series of various lectures in relation to the neurology. So today's presentation is approach to the primary headache disorders. Uh, so I am audible and visible now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Yeah. So today topic is regarding the approach to the primary headache disorders. So why I choose this topic is in the neurology, the most important complaint with which the patients present to the OPD is the headache, and then next common is the seizures, and the next is the stroke. So today we will cover the approach to primary headache disorders. So the headache is basically a very benign thing to the most malignant. So the most importantly, the history will say which headache we are dealing with most of the times. So the detailed history and then examination and then finally imaging will help you to exactly find out what's the cause of the headache, because the primary headaches, the differentiating between the primary headaches and secondary headaches is important, and at the same time the various primary headaches have different treatment regimes. So for example, if you take the trigeminal autonomic cephalgias, if you find out exactly the which trigeminal autonomic cephalgia, the treatment is different. And there are many primary headaches which are responsive to the indomethacin, and there are many headaches where the steroids, we have to give the steroids, and there are many recent therapies such as triptans and gpants which we use for the migraine. So finding out exactly which primary headache disorder we are dealing with is the most important thing in this presentation. So coming to the headache, the first important, and whichever exam you take, the most important thing in relation to the headache, they will ask is what are the pain sensitive structures you see, and what are the pain insensitive structures. So the pain sensitive structures in the brain are the scalp and aponeurosis, middle meningeal artery, dura mater and dural sinuses, falx cerebri, the proximal segments of the large pile arteries. The pain insensitive structures are the ventricular ependyma, the choroid plexus, the pile veins, and the much of brain parenchyma. It is very easy to remember. You see, the pain insensitive structures are coming from the inside. That is, if you take the lining of the ventricle, that is ependyma, and then the CSF is produced from the choroid plexus, and the ventricles are some of the brain parenchyma. So much of the brain parenchyma, the ventricular ependyma, the choroid plexus, they are all the pain insensitive structures. This is the reason why majority of the malignancies, though the tumors which are originating from the brain parenchyma, for the most of the period they do not present with anything, they just present with the vague symptoms. So we accidentally do the imaging and we notice the tumors. So the pain insensitive structures are the ependyma, the choroid plexus, the pile veins, and the much of the brain parenchyma. So the pain sensitive structures are the scalp and aponeurosis, middle meningeal artery, dura mater and dural sinuses, the falx cerebri, which are the coverings of the hemispheres, and the proximal segments of the large pile arteries. So this is one important slide in relation to the pain sensitive structures and insensitive structures. And next, coming to the classification, the ICH-3, the International Classification of Headache Disorders, classify the headache into the primary headache disorders, the secondary headache disorders, and the cranial neuralgias, that is central and the primary facial pain and other headaches. This is the basic classification. And coming to the primary headaches, the migraine, tension type of headache, cluster headache, and other trigeminal autonomic cephalgias and other primary headaches. So this class I'm mostly focusing on the primary headaches. And coming to the MCQ part, we can get whatever the form of the MCQ, like the most common headache you take, it is like in the females or in the males or in the elderly. Most commonly, if there is an option of tension type of headache, you have to mark it, because the tension type of headache overall it is the most common type of headache, and the migraine comes the next, and then the cluster headaches and the trigeminal autonomic cephalgias, and then the other primary headaches, they are the rare form of headaches. But it is very important to recognize those form of headaches, because the treatment is completely different while treating from the migraine or the tension type of headache and the cluster headaches. So coming to the headache, so if you see this slide, this is the most important slide in relation to this entire presentation, because the history we can exactly most of the times we are able to diagnose the headaches based just on the history. If you take this sequelae, in this sequence, that is the time, character, the causes, and the response to the during the headache and the intervals. If you take the time, the onset of the headache, this is very important. So if you see, the patient presents with a sudden onset excruciating headache There is no history of any prior headaches, and there is no history of any warning symptoms. And most of the times the patient will give the history like sudden onset, he woke up from the middle of the night from the headache. So this is pointing out the cluster headache. And in case of the tension type of headaches, they usually have the band like sensation, and they usually have the it is localized to the temporo-occipital region. And coming to the frequencies, so the tension again the frequency in some cluster headaches like the trigeminal autonomic cephalgias, there are multiple short frequent episodes of headache. If you take the frequency of the migraine frequency usually they build up over the period of time, and they usually present for a prolonged period of time. And then if you take the pattern of the headache, this is also very important. And then the duration, next coming the slides I will show about the duration. This duration is very important. Based on the just duration, you can able to classify the different types of primary headaches. For example, the tension type of headaches, they vary from half an hour to 7 days. And the migraine, if you take 4 hours to 72 hours. For example, if you take the TACS, that is trigeminal autonomic cephalgias, the most prototype is the cluster headache. Usually the headache duration is from 15 minutes to 180 minutes. And if you take the SUNCT, that is short acting unilateral neuralgiform headaches with conjunctival injection and tearing, the duration is from few seconds to 600 seconds, that is about 10 minutes. So based on the just duration, we can able to classify the headache, I mean what type of headache the patient is having. And next is the character, and then the character which includes the site, intensity, nature of the pain. So the character is very important, because the moment you see the character, that is a throbbing type of headache, pulsatile headache, that is the patient, I mean the examiner is giving you the diagnosis of migraine. So the migraine headaches are mostly the pulsatile headaches, that is the character is pulsatile, and you get the throbbing type of headache. But if you take thunderclap of headache, so if you see the stem of the question, it is mentioning as a thunderclap of headache. It is usually the subarachnoid hemorrhage, or the any intracranial hemorrhage, that is rupture of an aneurysm. You get a thunderclap of like headache. And then the nature of pain, and then the predisposing factors, triggering factors, aggravating factors. You take the migraine, you get the triggering factors. You take the trigeminal neuralgia, you have some triggering factors. And if you take some TACS, you get some triggering factors. And next is the family history, that is the migraine usually associated with family history, whereas if you take the other primary headaches like cluster headache, the family history is usually absent. And the response, that is the patient actions and limitations during an attack. And then the intervals, how the patient feels in between the attacks. Sometimes if you take a chronic migraine patient, he never feels normal. If you take a cluster patient, that is a patient who is having a cluster headache, the most of the times he typically gives the history of he might be having a headache at around in 2007, exact time and date, for about 2 to 4 weeks at a particular time, that is usually at night times. He give the headache history for about half an hour to 1.5 hours, I mean 2 to 3 episodes over a period of 2 weeks. And then again similar year, that is the periodicity, that is interval between the attacks are usually the alternate day. So all this time, character, causes, I mean the predisposing factors, triggering factors, and then the response, what the person will be doing during that attack, and then the interval, that is how patient feels between the attacks. All these the history. So just based on the history, you can able to diagnose most of the primary headaches. So this is the most important slide. This is the rule of the three. This is mostly used by the headache pundits, they mentioned. It is not exactly the, I mean, if you see the migraine, it is mentioned about from 3 hours to 3 days, but usually we say from 4 hours to 72 hours. But for the rough idea, just with this, you can memorize, I mean, what are all the primary headaches duration. So the migraine, if you take, the classically you can say 4 hours to 72 hours duration, and in the children it is 2 hours to 72 hours. But here, according to rule of three, it is 3 hours to 3 days. And then tension type of headaches, it is from 30 minutes to 7 days. That is a week. Sometimes it progression up to 3 weeks and 3 years. And if you take the cluster headache, that classically 15 minutes to 180 minutes, that is 30 minutes to 3 hours. So up to 180 minutes, you can get the cluster headache. And the paroxysmal hemicranias up to 30 minutes. And then the SUNCT is 3 seconds. So if you see this cluster headache, paroxysmal hemicranias, and SUNCT, this is very, very important, because in the trigeminal autonomic cephalgias, they have specific treatment. For example, if you take the patient is having cluster headache respond wonderfully to the oxygen inhalation and triptans, whereas the paroxysmal hemicranias responds wonderfully to the indomethacin. If you take the SUNCT, that is short lasting unilateral neuralgiform headache attacks with conjunctival injection and tearing, they respond to the lamotrigine. So identifying based on the headache pattern and then the associated autonomic features, and based on the duration, you can classify the cluster, paroxysmal hemicranias, and the SUNCT. If the time permits, I'm going to describe the that is the classification, I mean diagnostic criteria for each one. And again, status migrainosus. As I already mentioned, the migraine headaches typically last from 4 hours to 7 hours. So the patient is having migraine, frequent migraine here, and he's already on therapy, and maybe the dose is inadequate, he may land up into status migrainosus. Maybe the migraine patients usually have some underlying psychological factors. So there are status migrainosus patients. That means along with the migraine, he's having some anxiety, some depression. So they tend to have the headache frequency, the duration persisting for more than 3 days. So there we call it as status migrainosus. And then chronic headache. So patient who is having daily headaches for more than 15 days per month, for more than 3 months, you call it as chronic headaches. So based on the duration, you can able to classify different types of headaches. So before labeling it as, so if you see the ICH3 classification criteria, in every criteria they will mention in the last line, it should not be attributable to any other disorder. So before labeling any headache like a migraine or the class or the TAX, that is the trigeminal autonomic cephalgias, or the tension type of headaches, you have to rule out the second headaches. So this is the classical mnemonic, that is to rule out the secondary headaches, that is the SNOOP. SNOOP you have to remember. So never forget the SNOOP red flags to exclude the secondary headaches. So the SNOOP, the first one, yes, stands for the systemic symptoms, that is the fever, weight loss, fatigue. You have to think of inflammation. So the classical example is the giant cell arthritis. So if you see an elderly patient who is having a headache, mostly on the temporal side, who is having a history of nausea, who is having a history of fever, and then generalized malaise, fatigue, and also he is having an examination, the palpable vessels on the temporomandibular joint, and also there is a jaw claudication, difficulty in opening the jaws, and he complains of generalized malaise, that is polymyalgia rheumatica. So, and if you order the investigation ESR, it is not, again, one more important MCQ, the ESR is not raised in all the patients of giant cell arthritis. So, some person having, elderly person having a headache, mostly on the temporal side, associated with the systemic symptoms, we have to, and along with the visual symptoms, we have to think in lines of giant cell arthritis. Why it is important to recognize this? Because many of the times, if you recognize the giant cell arthritis, it is completely responsive. Most of the times, that is 50 to 75% of the cases, it is responsive to the steroids. So you can actually improve the vision by diagnosing those patients. Next is the secondary factors. That means headache in the setting of underlying immunosuppression, cancer, HIV. You have to think of metastatic cancer or the carcinomatous meningitis. Next in the mnemonic is SNOOP, that is neurological symptoms. So along with the headache, if the patient is having altered sensorium on examination and there is a focal deficit, that means the patient is having tingling numbness over a certain area which is not responding to routine medication, he may be having a paraparesis and you're not responding to medication, you have to think in lines of mass lesion, encephalitis, or a stroke. So you have to get the imaging immediately done. And next is the onset. As I already mentioned, if the patient is having abrupt thunderclap headache, you have to think about SH, that is subarachnoid hemorrhage. So if the stem of the question is saying that it is the worst headache ever he had, and so you have to proceed through the course of the question. If you see the thunderclap, so, and it is most likely the subarachnoid hemorrhage. So if you do the CSF, you get the blood in the CSF, and if you do the imaging, you will see the blood in the sylvian fissures. So this is subarachnoid hemorrhage. Next is the older patient, that is any new headache. If you see after the age of 50 years, as I already mentioned, you have to think in lines of a temporal arthritis, because it is potentially reversible, and the visual is so the patient, if you don't treat, he may get the permanent visual impairment. So it is very important to identify the secondary cause of temporal arthritis. And next is the positional. So if the person is saying the patient is having a variation in the frequency of the headaches and the intensity of the headaches on sitting and on standing, you have to think in lines of intracranial hypotension. Why intracranial hypotension occurs? If there is a CSF seepage from the cervical region or from thoracic region, there is a seepage of the CSF, and so there is a CSF dynamics is changed, so you get the positional headache. Again, it is very important to identify the positional headaches, that is the CSF leak, because if you identify a CSF leak just by treating with the epidural blood patch, you can able to, you can actually save the patient, because intracranial hypotension secondary to the CSF leak, ultimately if the pressure is reduced, usually the intracranial hypotension, when we say usually when the pressure is it is less than 6 centimeters of water, you call it as intracranial hypotension. It has a potential to cause the herniation of the cerebellar tonsils, and ultimately the patient lands into brainstem compression and death. So it is important to identify the secondary headaches, that is when the patient is presenting to your OPD, it is important. So you have to memorize the system, whether the patient is having along with the headache or the systemic symptoms and the secondary factors associated on the examination, neurological symptoms or signs, and whether the onset is abrupt and the patient is older age and there is a variation of the headaches, the position wise. And on the fundus examination, if you find a papilledema, again, if you find a papilledema, it can, there is a underlying posterior fossa pathology. And even if you find a papilledema, you have to rule out the idiopathic intracranial hypertension. Again, one more thing I want to say, idiopathic intracranial hypertension, it can present with papilledema and without papilledema. So before labeling any patient of headache in the primary, before classifying any patient of headache into one of the primary headaches, you have to always remember these red flags, that is systemic symptoms and signs, neurological symptoms and signs, the onset, the older age, and then the position and the prior history of headaches and the papilledema. So this is one of the most important slide in this entire presentation. And one more important slide, I was already mentioned how to take the history of this headaches. So that is the same thing which you see in the Harrison. So the headache symptoms that underlie serious underlying disorder, that is worst headache, first severe headache, worsening over the days or weeks, abnormal neurological examination, the fever and unexplained symptoms and signs, vomiting that precedes the headache, pain induced by the bending, lifting and cough. So again, this is an important thing. If the patient is having pain induced by bending, lifting and cough, it can be a primary cough headache. And also if the patient is having a the cervicovertebral junction tumors and also the cervicovertebral junction lesions, like the, what you say, Arnold-Chiari malformations. So this is very important. You have to get the imaging done. And again, the pain that disturbs the sleep, that is immediately upon awakening, and then known systemic illness, and then onset after the age of 55, and then pain associated with local tenderness, that is the region of temporal artery. So coming to this migraine definition. So migraine is a primary neurobiological disorder resulting from the dysfunction of a trigeminal-vascular system. So the migraine headaches are the recurrent headaches of variable intensity and duration, often unilateral, associated with nausea and vomiting. I will show you these are the classification, ICH classification. There are total 6 classified. They are classified into 6 variants. That is migraine without aura, with aura, chronic migraine, complications of migraine, and then probable migraine, and then episodic syndromes that may be associated with migraine. So this is usually not needed for you. This is basically for the headache specialist who want to classify and then identify the underlying causes. And coming to the pathophysiology, as you already know, they have vascular theory, cortical spreading depression theory, neurovascular hypothesis, serotonergic abnormalities, and then integrated hypothesis. Now recently the calcitonin gene related peptide. So now again I want to mention, whenever you read about headache, now the recent thing and the most updated thing is regarding the calcitonin gene related peptide theory and the antagonists which are used in the prevention of migraine. I can say in any exam, they will confirmly give the questions on this topic. Why? Because it has dramatically changed the way we treat migraine. So the calcitonin gene related peptide antagonist or the calcitonin gene related peptide receptor blockers, they actually, they revolutionized the treatment of migraine. So it has been more than 3 decades. We don't have any new molecules. We have been treating with antiepileptics, anxiolytics, and then the beta blockers, calcium channel blockers. Only we have triptans or the specific molecules, but the CGRP antagonist, they are the specific molecules which have designed for the therapy of migraine. So I will mention the drugs in the coming in a few minutes. So this is a very, very important area in relation to the migraine treatment. So this is the pathophysiology. So actually we get a hyperexcitability. Because there is a this is actually all the pathophysiology starts in the brainstem in response to the triggers where the neurotransmitters are released, that is the serotonin, your norepinephrine, glutamate, calcitonin gene peptide, and then the substance P, estrogen, all these having different effects. That is dilatation of the meningeal blood vessels mainly occurs because of the dilatation occurs which leads to throbbing, and activation of the area posterior which leads to the nausea or vomiting, and again the activation of hypothalamus leads to the hypersensitivity which we see in the migraine, and the activation of the trigeminal system which leads to muscle spasm. This is one of the important criteria. So in the migraine, these patients usually have the headaches on bending the neck. This is because of the activation of the cervical triggering system, and then the activation of the cortex and thalamus which leads to the head pain. So this is the system where we get the impulses carried out from the meningeal vessels. It is activated in the trigeminal system, and then it projects to the various tracts into the thalamus where it is activated and the neurotransmitters are released. Ultimately, as we all know the triggers, I am skipping through the slides. As we all know these triggers. So the criteria, this is the important criteria I want to I want you to remember. So for diagnosing the migraine, at least you need to have 5 attacks and the headaches lasting for about 4 to 72 hours, and the headache has at least 4 out of this, 2 out of these 4 characteristics, that is unilateral location, the pulsatile headache, and moderate to severe pain intensity, aggravation by doing the routine physical activities. So that means his headache should impede the daily physical activities. And next is during the headache, at least he need to have a nausea or vomiting and photophobia and phonophobia, and it should not be explained by any other diagnosis. This is a classic criteria for the migraine. And again, this is the common migraine which we see in the OPD, that is the migraine without aura. This is the classical migraine where we see migraine with aura. Again, the common migraine, we need to have 5 attacks to diagnose it clinically. Migraine with aura, we need to have 2 attacks. The only thing is here we need to have an aura, that is a reversible aura. It can be the visual, sensory, speech, motor, brainstem, retinal. And then at least the aura spread over 5 minutes, and aura should be unilateral, and aura is accompanied or followed within 60 minutes of headache. This is very important criteria, that is migraine with aura. Next is hemiplegic migraine, migraine in women, and childhood migraine. I am not discussing here. Next, I want to mention here the acute attack therapies for migraine. That is, you need to abort. You can be with even if a simple attack, it can abort with NSAID. But we have a specific drugs called triptans. That is 5-HT 1B 1D agonist. Again, it is important in terms of both pharmacology and also medicine. I mean, for exams and also for actual treatment. So here you need to remember what is the. We routinely use the sumatriptan. Sumatriptan, we get the tablet forms, and the sumatriptan we get the intranasal injections, and the sumatriptan have the very least oral bioavailability, and also the half-life is 2 hours. So if you give for an acute attack the sumatriptan, you need to give the subcutaneous injections within the span of again few minutes. Again, here I want to mention few MCQs. So the sumatriptan having the lowest oral bioavailability, and the frovatriptan is having the longest action, and the fastest action is for the rizatriptan. And what are the triptans which we can give through the nasal route? That is dihydroergotamine, sumatriptan, and zolmitriptan. Next is the ergot alkaloids and antiemetics are also used in the therapy of migraine. So again, one more important MCQ, when we use the migraine prophylaxis, when the patient is having more than 2 attacks per week, and the prolonged attacks, regular and predicted attacks, that is menstrual migraine, and the patient is having some special circumstances, and the patient is having some uncommon features, that is associated with hemiplegia, and associated with some brainstem symptoms, associated with prolonged aura, and the migrainous infarction, that is complicated migraine, where we use the preventive therapy, where we have to start the preventive therapy. So the time is only 5 minutes. So I want to mention one more thing here, that is the CGRP antagonist. So in this lecture, so just remember, go and read about the CGRP antagonist in any exam. These are the very potential questions, because this is the way, completely it has changed the way we treat migraine. So first the CGRP antagonist, or the we get galcanezumab and fremanezumab and erinumab, and also GPANTs, that is olkizipant and telkazipant, or the various drugs we have. So read about the CGRP receptor antibodies, that is galcanezumab, eptinezumab. Okay, so we can increase the time. So I can. Hello, Nigam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can increase the time.
I can continue the class.
Yes, sir. You can continue.
Okay, fine. My slides are not moving. 1 minute.
If anyone is having any doubt, can ask to sir. No
Yeah,
problem.
you can ask me any doubts at this moment. I'll break for 5 minutes. Is it very fast, or I have mentioned in the first slide my email and number. You can give me the feedback, and if you have any specific doubts, I can repeat the topic.
Also, you can download this video and the slides.
I can send you this presentation, and also I'll make one handwritten notes of entire topic of headache, the most commonly frequently asked questions, and the clinical scenarios where you can go through this topic, and you can get you can get the complete knowledge of completely you can get the overall overview of this topic.
Yes, sir. They can download from the M4PG website. I have mentioned in the store. It is freely available to download. They can download.
Yeah. So up to this, what is most important is you need to identify the patterns of the headache. You need to remember the durations of various headaches. You need to identify the secondary causes of headache, and what are the various. You can you need to exclude the secondary causes before committing to a diagnosis, and you need to remember the diagnostic criteria of migraine without aura. That is, the migraine without aura is the common migraine, and the migraine with aura is the classical migraine. And in the pathophysiology of the migraine, as I already mentioned, the most important thing is the CGRP, because the CGRP elicits the inflammation. The CGRP, so there are various randomized control and placebo control trials have been done during the attack of migraine. Also, they have seen the increased levels of CGRP. So we have now the CGRP antagonists. These are the new blocks in the management of migraine. That is CGRP receptor antagonists and also CGRP blockers. That is directly they block the peptides. Those are the small molecules. That is CGRP receptor blockers, and the CGRP directly peptide blockers are the basically the monoclonal antibodies. That is fremanezumab, galcanezumab, erinumab. Okay. I'm audible to all of you. Nigam, is it audible?
Yeah, clear, sir. It's audible, clear, crisp and clear.
I can able to see the doubts anybody is asking, because I am not able to see here anything except my slide. Actually, we are new. I mean, I am new to this using this Zoom. We make it the presentation more likely. I mean, more user friendly next time. We'll send the notes even prior to the class, so that you can go through the class and then you can come up with the prepared mind, so that you can observe more from this information. I mean, more from the presentation. Nigam, is it audible?
Yeah, sir, it's audible.
Okay, shall I proceed?
Yeah, sir, you can proceed.
Okay, fine. So as I already mentioned, CGRP receptor antibodies, that is galcanezumab, eptinezumab, fremanezumab, and erinumab. Erinumab is the first molecule in this series. After that, we have fremanezumab and galcanezumab. The erinumab, fremanezumab, and galcanezumab, all these are the subcutaneous preparations. Only the eptinezumab is the intravenous preparation. So advantage of this is erinumab subcutaneous injections we can give monthly, and some injections are 3 monthly, so they can just give the injections. So there is a dramatic improvement. So I mean, you cannot even say, I can say that there are no other molecules in the therapy of migraine which we have used over decades are as efficacious as these molecules, because it is almost reducing the in a chronic migraine patient, it is almost reducing the frequencies up to 75%. So with all the available previous therapies, we can only able to reduce the frequencies only up to 50%. Now this has been shown in the various randomized control trials. It has dramatic improvement. Soon we are able to see these molecules in India also, that is erinumab and the fremanezumab. Only we are hoping for the reduced cost, so that we can be able to prescribe to the most number of patients. Next is the tension type of headache. This is the common type of headache. So always, as I already mentioned, to identify the type of headache in the MCQ, you have to see the clenching words. If the stem of the question is saying the band-like headache, predominantly in the temporooccipital region, he is saying about the tension type of headache. If the stem of the question is saying about the unilateral headache, recurrent episodes lasting for 4 to 72, associated with nausea and vomiting, photophobia, phonophobia, he is saying about migraine. If the stem of the question is saying about excruciating pain, the patient has to wake up in the midnight, and the headache is predominantly the periorbital, retroorbital region associated with the nasal stuffiness, ptosis, meiosis, and the conjunctival suffusion and lacrimation on examination. He's speaking about the trigeminal atomic cephalgia, that is prototype is cluster. Again, you can able to differentiate the cluster and the paroxysmal hemicrania, and paroxysmal hemicrania, cluster, and sunk based on the duration. Cluster typically 15 minutes to 180 minutes, paroxysmal hemicrania up to 30 minutes, and then the sunk or stuna up to 10 minutes. Okay. So now the tension type of headache, that is diagnostic criteria is you need to have at least 10 episodes of headache, usually less than 1 day per month. So in a year, he may get about 12 episodes, that is 10 to 11 episodes, 1 day, less than 1 day per month. The duration is roughly for about more than half an hour to sometimes even extend. It is more than a day. So, and it is bilateral location, and it is a band-like sensation, mild to moderate in intensity, and actually it's not affecting his daily routine. This is very important. So that is not aggravated by the routine physical activity such as walking or climbing, and there is no nausea, vomiting, no photophobia, phonophobia. So he is basically dealing with the infrequent episodic tension type of headache. So the frequent is, here we have 1 to 14 days per month. Previously we have 1 episode per month, and in the entire year we have less than 12 episodes. Here the frequent episodic we have 1 to 14 days per month. So he may have about roughly 4 to 5 headache days for more than 3 months and less than 6 months, more than 3 months and less than 6 months. And again, the headache duration is roughly for about 30 minutes to 7 days. Again, bilateral, and it has mild to moderate intensity, tight band-like sensation, no nausea, no vomiting, no photophobia, no phonophobia. That is the frequent episode tension type of headache. Again, you can manage with the simple analgesics and NSAIDs and aspirin. And usually he may, he may need no need to have for the chronic treatment or the preventive therapies. So preventive therapies in the setting of tension type of headaches is only we have to prescribe the preventive therapies when it is more than 15 headache days per month. So in this entire headache, this 15 is very important. We get very frequently this more than 15 headache per month. Again, while reading about the another criteria also, we get more than 15 episodes. So this 15 is very important in relation to these headaches. So if the patient is having more than 15 headache days per month, you need to prescribe the preventive therapies, usually the non-pharmacological, that is the sleep hygiene, stress management, acupuncture, physical therapy, and pharmacological, we need to prescribe the tricyclic antidepressant, that is amitriptyline. Next is the tax. So for the next 10 to 15 minutes, I will cover this tax. This is very, very important because here I mentioned, so carefully observe the cluster headache, the therapy is different, and the paroxysmal headache therapy is different. Sanct therapy is headache. The paroxysmal hemicrania and hemicrania continua both respond to the indomethacin. So cluster headache responds acutely to the oxygen inhalation and triptans. The paroxysmal hemicrania and hemicrania continua responds to indomethacin. Again, here I want to mention there are many primary headaches which are very beautifully responsive to the indomethacin. That is the primary stabbing headache, the primary primary stabbing headache, primary cough headache. Here paroxysmal hemicrania and hemicrania continua. So you make a note on what are the indomethacin responsive headaches. Again, this is a very frequently asked MCQ. Indomethacin responsive headache, paroxysmal hemicrania, hemicrania continua, primary cough headache, and primary stabbing headache. Again, Sancta Suna, it is responds wonderfully to the lamotrigine, topiramate. Okay, Sancta Suna responds wonderfully to the lamotrigine and topiramate. So identifying the cluster headaches, identifying the trigeminal autonomic cephalgias. The name itself, it is mentioned here. The pathology is in relation to the trigeminal system associated with the autonomic features. There is headaches. So trigeminal autonomic cephalgias. The prototype is the cluster headache. You need to have the 5 attacks fulfilling criteria from B to D. So as I already mentioned many times during this entire course, patient is having severe or very severe unilateral, orbital, supraorbital, retroorbital headaches lasting for about 15 minutes to 180 minutes, and at least you need to have in the ipsilaterally. So if the patient is having right-sided, you need to have right side nasal stuffiness, right side lacrimation, and right-sided eye edema, ptosis, and then forehead and facial sweating, and then he need to have the ptosis or meiosis, and then a sense of restlessness or agitation. This is very important. Usually what happens is sometimes it is very difficult in the OPD setting, whether it's the migraine headache or the cluster headache, because migraine headaches usually they need to calm down and they need to the attack will reduce on taking the rest. Here what happens is the cluster headache patient, the typical excruciating pain, stabbing type of pain associated with the autonomic features. Usually they have a restlessness or agitation during the episode. This is one important criteria. And one more thing, the attacks, at least 5 attacks. Again, one more important thing you need to remember about regarding the cluster headache. So they have a very, there is, periodicity is the hallmark. So the patient is having a periodic headaches, that is he may get headache particularly at around 11 o'clock, and again alternate day 11 o'clock, again alternate day 11 o'clock for about 2 to 4 weeks. Again after 2 years he may get the headaches. So he may having the clustering of these headaches. So the patient typically give the headaches like this. And again, it should not be accounted by the any other ICH3 diagnosis, that is International Classification of Headache Disorders. Again, one more point I'm mentioning, whenever you are suspecting a case of a cluster headache, always you have to do the imaging, because in the various series, that is 10% of these cluster headaches have an underlying space occupying lesion in the pituitary fossa. So always whenever you think of cluster headaches, you need to do the imaging, because you have 10% of the cases are associated with the underlying space occupying lesion. So you may get an AIMS type of question that cluster headaches patient, they may have the secondary, they may have in 10% of the cases associated underlying space occupying lesion. So again, as I already mentioned, the treatment in the beginning part of this tax, the acute attack treatment is oxygen. Again, the treatment is very important. Here, 100% oxygen inhalation at 8 to some textbooks will write 8 to 10 or 10 to 12 liters per minute for about, you have to give it for 15-20 minutes. One more important point: while giving the oxygen, the patient has to bend forward. It is also very important thing for the better compliance of this. So the patient should be in the forward leaning posture by using the nasal prongs in the by using the rebreathing mask, and we have to give the oxygen inhalation 10 to 12 liters per minute for about 15-20 minutes. Here we have to use the high flow and high oxygen content are important. All these are very important in MCQs. And again, triptans, as I already mentioned, sumatriptan 6 milligrams subcutaneous. It have a very short half life, but it acts very rapidly. And sometimes what happens is you give the sumatriptan, the patient will not respond for about 15-20 minutes. Again, you have to give the another triptan. Now what we are doing routinely in the emergency, now we have better inhalational drugs also got, and even we can use the IV drugs also. So triptan, sumatriptan is used in the acute setting. And one more thing is dihydroergotamine IV even can provide the prompt relief. So oxygen, triptans, and dihydroergotamines for the acute treatment. Again, the preventive management, again, short-term prevention and the long-term prevention. We have the methotrexate, verapamil, prednisolone. Again, you write separately where are all the, when prednisolone is used in the headaches. So as I already mentioned, prednisolone is used in the secondary headaches, that is giant cell arteritis. Again, in the management of cluster headaches, for the prevention of the cluster headaches, in the episodic prevention, we use the prednisolone. Again, in the chronic migraines, when you need to stop the, you need to break the headache, there also you use the steroids. So in the primary headaches, the cluster headaches prevention, use the steroids. One more thing is verapamil and methotrexate. And one more thing, recently in the patients who are having the very bad headaches, not responsive to the triptans, not responsive to all your medication, these patients have very good response to the GON injection, that is greater occipital nerve injection. These may not be given to you, but for the better understanding, and you may get interest in this headache. That's why I'm repeating these sentences. That is greater GON injection, greater occipital nerve injection. It will reduce the attacks of cluster headaches. And again, the long-term prevention, use the lithium, topiramate, gabapentin, melatonin. So always you need to weigh the side effects also. Topiramate, we have the weight loss, and renal stones as side effect. Again, with lithium, you may get the tremors. So you may avoid in the anxious persons, because the migraines and the cluster headaches patients, they have many associated anxiety, depression, all these features. So again, the neurostimulation therapy, deep brain stimulation, it has not much success. So they are not using now more frequently. So these are all the preventive strategies for the cluster headaches. Next, after the prototype cluster, we have paroxysmal hemicrania. Again, whenever you read the stem of the question, it is like severe headaches, and then what happens, autonomic symptoms, you see female. Mostly what happens is cluster headaches is seen in males, and the paroxysmal hemicrania, usually clusters are like 15 minutes to 180 minutes. Here the paroxysmal hemicrania are like 5 minutes to 25 minutes, and the attacks are usually more than 20. And they have, typically the female presenting with the cluster like. So if you feel like cluster headache like picture, and the duration is less, and the attacks are more than 20, and it is female, the diagnosis is paroxysmal hemicrania. So this is the diagnostic criteria: at least 20 attacks fulfilling criteria, that is short lasting, orbital, periorbital, temporal pain. Again, I'm mentioning these attacks have the orbital headaches, tension type of headaches has the band like sensation, and the temporo-occipital type of distribution, and the migraine have the unilateral. So this is all the classic. Again, you can see the bilateral diffuse headaches in migraine, cluster headaches also, you may have some progression. This is the classic I'm saying. The attacks have the periorbital, and the tension type of headaches is the temporo-occipital, and the unilateral headaches are the migraine. These are the secondary headaches. Again, as I already mentioned, indomethacin. Again, I'm repeating, indomethacin responsive headaches. In the attacks, we have paroxysmal hemicrania and hemicrania continua. Again, in the primary cough headache and stabbing headache are indomethacin responsive. There are many other primary headaches other than the tension cluster and this attacks, which are responsive to indomethacin. So whenever you are treating a headache patient, you always think indomethacin responsive headaches, because many times what happens is, we see in the OPD many patients are using analgesics, triptans, because of wrong diagnosis, and they use even indomethacin for a very short duration. They don't use completely, and they are suffering for lifelong. So this is very important to identify the indomethacin responsive headaches. Next is the Sanctarsuna. Again, after the cluster paroxysmal hemicrania, Sanctarsuna, that is short lasting, unilateral, neurology form headaches with conjunctival injection and tearing. Suna is nothing but short lasting, unilateral neuralgiform headache, headache attacks. So what happens is, this Sanktarsuna, they're very short lasting headaches. In the trigeminal, they have mainly ophthalmic distribution. Again, here the close differential is, you have to differentiate Sanktarsuna from the trigeminal neuralgia. What happens is, both the Sankt or Suna and the trigeminal neuralgia both have triggers. Again, this trigeminal neuralgia classically involve the maxillary and mandibular distribution, whereas Sanktarsuna ophthalmic distribution. This is very important differentiation. That is Sanktarsuna ophthalmic distribution, and the trigeminal neuralgia is maxillary mandibular distribution. Again, if you take the duration part, Sanktarsuna usually lasts from 2 seconds to 600 seconds. That is 10 minutes. If you take the trigeminal neuralgia, it is only up to 120 seconds. That is 2 minutes. So the patient is having multiple attacks. Even we see some patients of trigeminal neuralgia, they will say in front of that they are having the attack of trigeminal neuralgia. It's like just it will have a trigger, and it's only for a few seconds. Trigger is there in the distribution of maxillary and mandibular, and it's having again severe paroxysmal short-lasting headaches. So it is very important to differentiate Sanktarsuna from trigeminal neuralgia. Both have triggers. The differentiating point is the Sanktarsuna predominantly having ophthalmic distribution, and this trigeminal neuralgia maxillary and mandibular. One more thing is the refractory period. This Sanktarsuna has the refractory period. That means it touches the baseline and then another attack starts. What happens with the trigeminal neuralgia? There is no refractory period. That means they are having a baseline headache. Baseline attack. Pain is there. So refractory period is absent in case of Sanktarsuna. In case of trigeminal neuralgia, we have refractory period. Again, Sanktarsuna, secondary Sankt is they have posterior fossa lesions. As I already mentioned, again I'm mentioning here, you need to do the imaging, because all tax, in dealing with the tax, because 10% cases have the underlying pituitary fossa lesions or the posterior fossa lesions. Okay. Next is the treatment. As I already mentioned, lamotrigine, topiramate, and gabapentin are effective in Sankt. But again, here I forgot to mention the abortive therapy. If the patient is having the short-lasting unilateral headaches, that is IV lidocaine works wonderfully. So cluster headaches, oxygen and triptans, paroxysmal hemicrania, response to indomethacin, Sanktarsuna, response to IV lidocaine, and preventive therapy, lamotrigine, topiramate, and gabapentin. Okay. One more thing, microvascular decompression can also be done if the patient is not responsive to IV lidocaine. So these are the differential diagnosis of primary headaches, that is migraine, cluster, and tension. As I already mentioned, family history is present only in case of migraine. Again, in relation to the MCQs, in relation to the familial history, that is familial hemiplegic migraine, there are 3 variants: FHM 1, 2, 3. One is a defect in the calcium channel. 2 and 3, there is a defect in the sodium channel. Okay. And one more thing, tension type of headaches, migraine, cluster, these are the difference of primary headaches. As I already mentioned, no need to repeat. This is the cluster, paroxysmal hemicrania, and Sankt. This entire, in this 40 minutes, I mentioned 3 to 4 times, because this is very important to identify, because treatment varies in the various stacks, that is trigeminal, autonomic, cephalgias. And next, this is the basic classification you see in the Harrison. Primary headaches who are having, the duration which persists for more than 4 hours, that is chronic migraine, tension type of headaches, chronic, and hemicrania continua, and NDPH. Again, when you call it as NDPH, new daily persistent headaches, the patient is having almost daily headaches for more than 3 months. Okay, more than 3 months, and the new attack persists for more than 3 days, you call it as NDPH. Okay, again, less than 4, cluster, paroxysmal Sankt, I already mentioned. Again, hypnic headache, I want to give a small history of hypnic headache patients. So the hypnic headache patients, usually they are seen in more than 50-year patients. They give the typical history of an elderly 50-year-old lady who wakes up multiple times. That means the patient wakes up, she's having headache for 15 minutes, and then she goes back to sleep, and then she wakes again, like more than 3 to 4 episodes. And here you need to, the diagnosis is usually the hypnic headache. Okay. Again, hypnic headaches, you need to, rule out the underlying hypertension. Usually these hypnic headaches patients, if you check the blood pressure, there is an underlying hypertension. One more thing, in all headache patients, I want to mention as a practitioner, in all headache patients, make a note, you have to check the blood pressure, you have to get the X-ray of paranasal sinuses, because sinusitis you can rule out, and the many chronic hypertension patients, they present with headaches. And one more thing, you have to rule out the, you have to do the ESR in elderly patients, that is you to rule out the temporal arteritis. So these are the basic investigations which will, which will channelize you to identify what is exactly happening. Next is the new daily persistent headache, as I already mentioned, and these are the differential diagnosis for the NDPH. Again, NDPH can be primary, secondary, and secondary. This is again very important. The secondary causes of NDPH, that is subarachnoid hemorrhage, low CSF volume headache, raised CSF pressure headache. Here I want to mention MCQ, raised CSF pressure headache. Again, that is idiopathic intracranial hypertension. The CSF pressure is more than 20 to 25 in case of a obese individuals, non-obese individuals, and obese individuals, and more than 20 in case of non-obese individuals, and more than 25, 28 in case of children. That is more than 20 in case of non-obese, obesity is 25, and 20 is in case of children. This is all in centimeters of water. That is 25 centimeters of water, 28 centimeters of water. Okay, and again, as I already mentioned, low CSF pressure is less than 6 centimeters of water. Again, these are the important MCQs to note. Next is the medication overuse headache. This is also one of the important thing. As I already mentioned, this 15 will come multiple times in reading the headache. Again, here medication overuse headache occurring on 15 days per month in a patient who is already having a headache disorder, who is having, that is the patient is already having a migraine. He is using ergotamine for more than 10 days per month for more than 3 months, and now he presented with not responsive for all these medications for more than 15 days. That is medication overuse headache. So this medication overuse headache, it is very important to identify, because many patients tends to abuse the analgesics. So I'll stop here. Nigam, are you able to hear?
Yes, sir, it was clear.
Okay, so I'm fast or anything, or shall I want to repeat anything? You can in the first slide I mentioned my email ID and mobile. You can give me the feedback, and in 2 days I will post in the AIM for PG all the MCQs, what are the potential MCQs, and even the concepts which can be asked. Again, now my suggestion, I am giving you the small work. Go and read about the intracranial, that is spontaneous intracranial hypotension. Now there are many, this is a very important area. Even in the AIMS and PJ, there are questions on spontaneous intracranial hypotension because of the CSF leak. The radiological features, go and read about the radiological features of the spontaneous intracranial hypotension, and about the intracranial, that is idiopathic intracranial hypertension. There is a criteria called modified Dandis criteria, which is very important. And one more thing, read about the CGRP blockers. Nigam, am I clear?
Yes, sir. And it was a very nice lecture, sir. It was very conceptual based.
Okay. And maybe I don't know whether it's very fast or slow. You can tell me. I can reduce the speed. And don't worry. If you want anybody, you can mail me. I can send you this PPT. And also I'll send separately what are the various MCQs. Some approximately I discussed some 30-40 important MCQs. And the areas I want you to focus on the tax, the various primary headaches, that is migraine, cluster, and then the tension type of headache. And then read about the spontaneous intracranial hypotension, read about the modified Dandis criteria of idiopathic intracranial hypertension, and read about the triptans and GPANs and CGRP receptor blockers in relation to the pharmacology. This is very, very important. CGRP receptor blockers, in every exam, you will expect a question from that, because it has literally changed the way we treat the migraine. We are soon expecting some good molecules of CGRP receptor blockers even in India.
Sir, if anyone is having doubt, can ask to sir, or you can download this full video and.
I am unable to see my face also, so.
No, sir, you are in top. I have pinned your. Yes, sir, you can see.
Yeah, I can. Maybe with better interface, we can interact better in the further presentations.
Okay. And all
so mostly, I want you to understand the pattern of the headache and duration. That will clinch the diagnosis.
Yes, sir. And more, sir will be taking more discussion, and you can find that I'll be posting in M4PG Telegram group, or in that M4PG Learn pad. I'll
Next,
be posting.
We will take the high yielding topics, that is multiple sclerosis, Parkinsonism, and then the stroke, epilepsy, and then peripheral neuropathy, muscle disorders. There are some 8 to 10. If you read those 8 to 10 topics in every exam, you will get 1 to 2 questions. So I will be keep posting you the high yield stuff.
Be in touch with the M4PG group and Telegram group and website. All notifications sir will be posting there. No problem. Okay, sir, we can end here. If no one is asking doubt, we can end here.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your class and conceptual based class.
Yeah. Is it clear?
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir, it was clear.
Okay.
You can stop the recording, sir. You can stop the recording.
Yeah, okay. I'm just keeping the first slide. So if anybody wants anything, I mean, you can mail me or you can message me. If any topic I can include in the further presentations.
Yes, yes. Anyone wants can ask out to the mail email ID given and the phone number given, and can send the feedback to the sir also. No
Nigam,
problem.
you can say, is it very fast? I can slow it. Okay.
No, sir, it's okay. In our MBBS and PG career, this much is enough. This fast is okay. No
Okay,
problem
Nigam.
with that.
We will end here. I will
Yes.
I will send the important MCQs which can be asked in relation to the headaches in the InfoBiju. You can take from that. If you want, you can ask me. I can mail you this presentation also. Okay. Good night. Take care.
Sir, you can end. Stop recording, sir. Stop the recording.
1 minute. So pause share
Yeah, pause, sir.
and recording where I can stop the video.
Yeah, yeah, stop the video.
One minute.
In the top option, you can see, sir.
Stop share.
No, sir, wait, sir. Let me remove one by one to everyone. Now the share is stopped. Now video you have to stop. At the bottom, you saw see the record button. You click. It will
Stop
be off.
video.
Yes, sir.
Stop recording. Okay.